Good afternoon, welcome to NMS. I have a list of exercises as I've gotten older that I don't do as much anymore for risk of injury, but I want to target 2 exercises that I don't do, and not specifically for the risk of injury, but for the risk of injury when getting them into position, okay? Now, those 2 exercises are overhead presses with dumbbells for shoulders and also incline presses for chest, okay? Now, I love these 2 exercises, don't get me wrong, and they did actually help me put on some good size when I was younger. But as I've gotten older, I just don't want to take the risk of throwing dumbbells back, especially when they're 40 plus kilos overhead, and then risking that injury from trying to get the dumbbells into position, okay? And the other problem I find with dumbbell overhead presses is, unlike military press, okay, because of the size of the dumbbell, I actually like to do my military press in here, whereas the dumbbells, because of the physical size of them, they're actually awkward to keep in close to you, and you can't get that elbow position like this as much because the dumbbells are too big. So I find that military press for me is actually much better for setting my shoulder. So I these days I do military press, or if I can find a machine press that actually does very similar to that military, I will do that. I don't generally do the presses on the Smith machine, but that's because I tend to find that the Smith machine doesn't have that arc of movement that you would normally have when you're doing your military presses. Now, the second exercise I don't do is the incline dumbbell press, and for similar reasons, getting them up into position, okay? But I used to find, especially on the first rep of the set, I found my left shoulder was a little bit tight, and it just got a little bit of pain. So, getting into position for that first rep was quite difficult. So what I find is that if I do, say, a Smith machine press these days, I can obviously unrack the weight, lock down my shoulders. Now my shoulders are set and I don't feel the pain that I was feeling on the incline presses with dumbbells, okay? So specifically, getting them into position is not always the easiest thing to do when you're doing heavy dumbbell presses. And I know back in the day, I was doing, between 40 and 50 kilos on the overhead press, and I was doing, 60, even sometimes up to 65 kilos on the incline dumbbell press. And getting them into position when you've got dumbbells that size is just never an easy option. And even with a spotter, it's just awkward from that first rep. So these days I use a more stable movement, okay? Now, a lot of people might say, well, when you're younger, why didn't you just do the more stable movement? I actually got good growth out of doing dumbbell incline presses and dumbbell overhead presses. So I don't actually dismiss the fact that I did the exercises being a bad idea. It's just as we get older, got to be a little bit more careful, and as we get stronger, it's also a bit of a problem. So dumbbell presses on an incline and overhead presses are 2 movements that generally don't end up in my program anymore. And, sometimes it's a little bit upsetting that, you've got to take things out of your program, that exercise that you do love, but, this is life and I guess we've got to deal with it. Guys, please like, comment, subscribe on this post, and please follow me. I'm going to be putting up a lot more content like this, and I'm hoping that you're getting some benefit out of it. If you're getting benefit, please comment and let me know. If you've got anything that you want to say about what I've put in the video, by all means. I've got a thick skin. If you don't like my ideas, you don't have to like what I say. Thanks for listening, guys, and you have a good afternoon, and I appreciate you guys listening.